Welcome back to the Golf Shop. We have another boxes to builds, but it's more like a delivery and repair. It's a re-repair. So let's talk about this again. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary here. Welcome to the Golf channel, where we talk about golf club repairs, reviews, opinions. Also, your scores can go low. Now, what I mean by repair, well, this could go into the category of worst repairs that I have to fix. This is a 4-wood, a Diablo, yeah, Diablo Callaway 4-wood, and it has been re-glued. Unfortunately, it was re-glued incorrectly, and we can take a look at it. And basically what's happened is, and I'm not sure where the shaft came from or how it got back in there, but all there is somebody just threw a glob of glue in there, shoved it in the shaft, shoved it in the head, and hope for the best. And it's not good. All right, it's just not good. The club's, the club's older and it's been worn a little bit. So now the real question is, can we fix it? That might be a problem. You don't know. There's always a thing with club repair. Everybody thinks you can fix everything. Well, not necessarily. I just ran into one. It was a Scotty Cameron broke about this high off the head, and normally it's an easy out or a thing. And I bet I almost melted that son of a gun, and it just wouldn't come out. And I'm not about ruining a very expensive head, so I had to give that one back. Now, that's the first one in 20 plus years, but it does happen. So just keep that in mind when you think this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try, there's like this mound of glue over the top, and we're going to try and take that out, and then we're going to heat it up and see if it'll pull out. Okay, see if it'll pull out on its own, because there's a lot of room in here. This takes a special ferrule, which we'll talk about when we go to assemble it, and hopefully it just pops out. If not, this grip's coming off, and we're going to have to use a special pulling tool, of which you'll see. So let's go over the bench and let's try this thing out. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and pull off some of this excess glue. Now, the real problem here is I don't want to touch the paint, and so I got to just kind of cut into it and try and flip it up. I'm sure there's other methods to making this happen, but I'm dodging all kinds of clubs that are drawing. All right, so back to this. We're going to try and just flick that off. What I might do is heat it up just a little bit to see if I can get the glue to get loose. Just about 10 seconds, and you can smell it already. Oh, there we go. A little bit of heat. Now that gives us a better... Now we can inspect it and see what we're looking at. Well, maybe not. I have to get in there a little bit more. And you see, as I keep moving the flame so that it doesn't have time to burn or anything of that nature. And here's something I got some dental tools, some old dental tools that will help me get in here. And there we go. So it appears that the original ferrule that was in there is not. So we're going to have to dig some of this out and see if we can't get this shaft out of here. I want a different kind of tool. Here we go. work this out. Stuff just peeling off the shaft. I'm not even sure what kind of glue this is, to be honest with you. Let's see if we can't get a bit more, and then we'll tack the puller. Alright, so it looks like there's just a big glob of glue in there. And the easiest way to do that is just to heat this guy up and pull it. Now, first thing I'm going to try is just to see if it's going to come loose by itself, because that little bit of heat really made it easy to manipulate. So I'm kind of guessing a lot of heat, or a little bit of heat on this might let it go, and we don't need the puller. Let's see what happens. Just a little bit of movement. Alrighty, we're going to take off the grip, and then we're going to put that back on. So give me a minute. Okay, well, I could have bored you to tears and dug out all that stuff, but we got to get this thing repaired. So we're going to put some more heat to it because it's had time to cool. And it's about, we're going to just give it 20 per side. Not so much on the top because it's paint. Alright. Now what I have here is my milled piece of plastic puller. That's an adapter for mostly bore-throughs. And there we go. Let's see if we can get this thing to come off. Pretty easy. Alrighty. Alright, let's go back to the bench and let's look at this thing. Alright, we got them apart. It was pretty easy. We expected that. What I'm using is, this is a milled piece of plastic that's a little more heat resistant. I cut some notches in it because of a previous shaft puller that I had. And what it does is, this rounded piece is really what goes towards the head, and it doesn't scrape it and it doesn't mar it. So it'll sit on here like this and helps push it off. Alright. It's been around a while. So now if we look, we can see that there's all kinds of glue and junk off of here, of which we're going to have to, I'm going to heat it and I'm going to scrape it. And then we look at this, and if we look at, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, but this thing, there's all kinds of black in there, and it's two-tiered, it's a double shoulder. So what goes in there? And this does. They still make them, so we're in good shape. So it's this ferrule. Now that's a specialty ferrule. Alright, and it's a, as you can tell, it's got the Callaway scallops on it, and then it's got the holes so the glue can move in between. And then this little bit takes you from the transition from maybe a 350 or what's inside the head and gets you into a 335. Now I doubt it's going to fit in there. You see how it gets it down in there? We got to clean out some stuff before it gets in there. So I'm going to hit this with I'm going to clean this up, we're going to polish it up, we're going to clean the inside, and then we're going to glue it together, and we'll show you just before we put it together. Alright, there we are. A little bit of time on the buffing wheel, a little bit of time on the wavy wheel, And we now have a really nice club head to put together. We've also gotten rid of this, with all the junk on here, so we know that's okay. And I had to switch ferrules because of the way that it was fitting. And what it has, a very deep shoulder, which is this is right here. And now we know that's going to fit in there really good. Now the opening is the same, so we're in pretty good shape, and all the way down it goes. Now, what this used to, how I figured that out is that it's set in there pretty good, and the wobble is at the top where the ferrule will take up that excess slack. So it's just a matter of putting it together now. Okay, so now we've got everything we need to put it together. Just a real quick dab of glue. We're going to mix it around. Alright, so what I did is I went back and I had to drill out the hole here because if you don't, it's just going to create this hydraulic pressure and it's not going to want to seat. So I drilled it out, and it's a good thing I did because there's probably more glue in this shaft as there was on the outside of it. So we've got the ferrule, and what I've done is I've roughed up the inside, and I've roughed up this part of it, and we've got that part roughed up, so we're good to go because epoxy likes ridges to attach to. So we're going to put a little bit in the head and get it going in around there. Then we're going to put some on the shaft and get it going on there. And get this to where it goes on. And there we go. Put it in there a little bit. Got to get it on there a bit more than that, don't we? All right. Oh, okay. Do some quick surgery here. Didn't think I was going to have to go up that high. Then if you ever get a ferrule that's a little difficult, just the slightest amount of heat, just keep her going, just about 5 or 10, and then you should be able to push it right on. I'm off camera doing it because I need leverage. There we go. And you see it did come on because we got all that sticking out of it. Now the real question is to punch it. And you heard it change sound. And a little bit more. So now a quick check would be all the way down. And got just, I got to go a little bit more. Alrighty, so now that we've got all this, make sure I got some epoxy on the outside so that it goes to the inside of that. And we can just, there we go. Get it wound around. Wipe off the excess because nothing's worse than a whole bunch of glue. We'll take this off camera. Alright, so now what I got to do is I got to line this thing up. I'm going to tap it down one more time. I'm going to go off camera and then we'll show the final product. Okay, pound it in a little bit more. There you go. It's all the way around. I'm going to wipe it down one more time. Now it just needs time to glue. Why do we wipe it down one more time? Because there's always extra glue trying to find its way out. And you may also have that stuff on the ferrule that you just don't like. Alright, little piece of tape. Make sure nothing slides. Good to go, up on the rack. Okay, that was basically one of the world's worst repairs. Not really, but it went really quite nice for me and for the owner of it, because, and this is what happens. For instance, you'll have, and there's always chatter on forums about it. I've got this 350 head and this 335 shaft. What can you do? Ultimately, somebody's going to say, put some epoxy on it, put some extra beads on it, and put it in there. No, right? No. That's what we just saw. And that what we just had here was basically the biggest point of that, or is the biggest example of that in order to make that go. By putting more glue around it, all you did was give it more of a chance to break, let go, or whatever it is that you want to call that. Now, there are specialty ferrules for that kind of stuff. And there's these kind, right? These are for, that's one I showed you for Callaway. There's some that we've got here for TaylorMades. We've got some here for the older pings and even ping drivers. And they go on for days, right? They're not the only ones, but they're the ones I have handy to show you. So if you have these particular kind of ferrules that are required, you're going to have to use them, otherwise you're ultimately going to end up with a failure. And that's the whole purpose of showing you this repair, because it was really easy to come out, and it was really easy for me to take it out. Just think of if it was sitting in your trunk and you went to go swing it. It's real easy to come off, and that's not what we want. So do the repairs properly, use the proper ferrules, and if you don't, find a guy like me or somebody that can do that for you. If you're trying to do this repair and you get a little bit out of your depth, just send us an email and we'll help you out, no problem. Clubmaker@mcgolf.net. And as always, let's see your scores go low.